Yeah, you want to, let's take a look at your log file if you can, and let's walk through that.
Yeah, just like, let me see. So this is on the current production. So let's see here.
Okay.
You guys see the text?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what ran last night?
Yeah. Let's see. Take a look at this one. So here it's showing that it's running 6.
Yeah. Okay.
As opposed to the 1.
Yeah.
And it's broken it up into different.
And all it does is take the number of students and divide it by that number of CPUs. Not really rocket science or anything. Okay, so you're still move up just a little bit, Jeff. You're still getting the whole number changed. That shouldn't happen.
So showing the total number of students processed for 11.
Okay. No, let's see. That's going to be per CPU.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are all different. Yeah.
So the class, keep going. So what it's, okay, so there at the bottom there, if you'll go back down a little bit, Jeff, what it's saying, go down a little bit, is, so that's really a kind of a summary of where those hash values were changing. So it looks at each one of those areas to see what's changed. So that applicant hash and aid hash, that's odd that it's picking up every student in there. Now that could be, I don't know if, did you guys have any kind of grading or registration going on?
The only thing that's going on right now are drops. And we shouldn't have that many.
Yeah, that just seems like a whole bunch.
Yeah, so maybe we should revisit that SQL at some time. I mean, now that we have 6 processes, or 5 or 6, 6 processes that are running now, to revisit that SQL. And maybe if you have some good examples from other schools on how they're doing it, then maybe we can go with the best practice.
Yeah.
I have a clarifying question on this. When we're bringing students in, is the check to see if there's changes supposed to be at the DegreeWorks level or in the SQL level for the import?
That's a good question. It happens definitely at the DegreeWorks level during the RAD 30 process, but you could do it at the SQL level as well, and it could be faster if you did it through the SQL level than running everybody through RAD 30. So
we can talk about that later if we want.
Okay.
Yeah, to not take away from the training. But.
Well, I mean, this is something I definitely we want to take a look at. When you move up a little bit, what's the timing on this one now? So that was 4 minutes and 12 seconds.
Let's see. Well, let's go all the way down to the bottom here. Let's see what so it's showing 4 hours, 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. So that, 4 hours and 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that actually includes the DAP 22 as well.
Yeah, so there was another file, right?
Yeah, let's look at the DAP 22 log file. That'd be the one right above it.
So that's doing 6 as well. That's good.
Yeah.
So, down to the bottom here.
Yeah, I see 4 hours. Yeah, so basically what happened is this, you took 4 hours and 4 minutes to do the DAP 22s and 4 minutes to do the RAD 30s. So the problem is we're sending too many of these to the DAP 22 processor. In my opinion, I think there's something wrong that it's picking up all 7,000 of these.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, it's picking them all up.
Hey, can you go back to the RAD 30 log? And I want to do a screenshot of that. Okay, that right there. Hang on one right there. And can you go ahead and let's take a look at your SQL file one more time and get a shot of that. Local. Hey, it's going to be local.
Oh, yeah, the students.
Now, just go to CD to local. That's where it's going to be. CD to local. Local and then SQL. Yeah. And then SQL. Yeah. You know.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Yeah. Hang on right there.
We did.
Okay. And now that SZZ profile student record, remind me how that thing gets created again?
Sorry?
How does that table SZV profile student record? You have something that's creating that table? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a view. Yeah, let's do this. Position. Yeah, and it may be that we need to go back and do something besides this, making use of this view.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually doing something really sort of what they have here as an example. I think we were doing it at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can actually.
Yeah, I don't think that's our problem though. But you might want to just use that if you can see in the background there that where it pulls it from Sprite. Yeah. Or just do greater than a particular term or something.
So, oh, so that's, yeah, so that's pulling 76. Using that little, yeah, so using this little guy
Mm-hmm.
with the current term.
Mm-hmm. Which would probably be better. That way you're not missing out on those students that may have an old G number. I still don't think that's the problem with the hash issue though.
The hashing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing. Can you look at that dwenv.config file that's in production? And it's going to be at your top level. Yeah. So there's not any, it's not, I've seen it before where their schools have added in that. Remember yesterday I put in that RAD 11 force.
That force.
Yeah. Look for, just do a search for RAD 11. See if. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, that's the only one.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So that's good. So that's not getting set. Okay. All right. We have to search the e-communities tonight and see why are all getting hash changes. That doesn't make sense.
Well, hold on. Let's do this too. Let's do an environment and sort. So, if there's any additional environment variables. There's. So I don't think there's a RAD. Well, there's a RAD true.
I don't know what that
An
is.
email address. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're good with that respect.
Yep.
And I actually think it would have had all those things marked as not just the aid hash and the applicant hash.
And so what was that variable? It was called force, wasn't it? A force.
Yeah, RAD 11. RAD 11 is the name of the variable. RAD 11 force. Yeah, all one word. RAD 11 force.
Force. Okay, yeah. So there's no local variables with force. Okay.
Okay, we'll have to dig deeper into that, but so at least your thing should be working a little bit faster now with the 6 CPUs.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, well, we'll keep working on it. Any questions on yesterday? Anything that you may have?
I think the team was hoping that maybe somewhere along the way, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, if we could do some hands-on that's allowing them to do some banner extracts and stuff.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
does everybody have access to the test system through the PuTTY or through Transit?
Oh, to the command line?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, make a note. Any questions about accesses? about the whole conversation we had about classes, groups, and keys?
No, but I can be kind of a challenge of trying to remember or find some of those share code pieces in that
Yeah.
search. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, all looks good.
So let's plan on also doing some hands-on controller
Yes.
manipulation,
Yep, that's a good
moving
idea.
around. That would be good. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about, I'm going to share my screen. Let's spend some time talking about localizations. So in just direct me, Jeff, if you see that it's getting too deep, stop me on this localization. So guide me along where you want to go on it. But so what I want to talk about is localizations on the classic dashboard that we're looking at right now, localizations in the responsive dashboard, even though you're not using it yet. I'll show you how to do those. I've also got a document on that that I will get to you, Jeff, on the responsive dashboard. It's very simple.
Okay, thank you.
And then what you are, and this will probably be for this, at least for this upgrade, probably Dave or I will be doing to get you from test to production on that go live weekend,
Right.
or whenever we do that. I'll walk you through what we will be doing just to kind of get you an idea of how it's done. So that's kind of on all of these. We'll kind of I'll kind of walk you through what we've done here in the classic dashboard localizations. Not expecting you to be able to do it, but just kind of give you a kind of a high level idea about it. And then if you guys want to, however you want to do in the future, whether you continue having us do it or Lucian or yourself. So this is the classic dashboard, and it has all of your localizations in there. So it's looking like Imperial Valley instead of the normal Aleutian colors and all that kind of thing. The classic dashboard used XSL and XML. And Melody, I know may have seen the XML and XSL before, but just a kind of a review. XML is going to be the kind of the data file that gets created from the audit. It's going to include all of the different information about the student, his classes, and all that kind of stuff. And then think of that being, think of the old programming languages. XML is your data file, and the file that reads that data file is this thing called XSL. And XSL controls the drawing of the screen everywhere, really, where my mouse is circling right here. This whole middle part of your screen is controlled through the XSL. If you think about it, there's not a lot of action in here. It's just mainly display stuff. Where it's not, you don't really click anywhere inside the middle of your screen. Although you can click on, if a student still needs a class, you can click there. But for the most part, you're just viewing data in here. So that's what the XSL does. Now, along the borders, this vertical edge here and these horizontal items at the top and even at the bottom, that's more where there's action happening. So you can click on you know, choose a different view. You can save as a PDF, process new, or click on one of these menu items. That's controlled with something called SHEP scripts. So as opposed to what we talked about yesterday, the SHEP SHP user information, and for some reason they use that same 3-letter wording to designate the type of files that perform some kind of action. So that's what creates these things along the edges. And typically, it's these things along the edges that are controlled by some type of key, like you have access to plans based on a key or have access to exceptions based on a key. In the middle here, that's not the case. Everybody pretty much sees the same thing here in the middle. Okay, there's no keys. Now, we can turn things on or off, but it's I see the same thing for the most part that the student sees or the advisor sees.
Yeah, so one area of contention that's been over the years is the GPA.
Okay.
That's displayed. Yeah.
This here?
Well, that one, and then on the per
block?
Yeah, so the one there, right there on the side.
Yeah.
Those GPAs.
Yeah, GPAs are always a challenge. It's a challenge in DegreeWorks, but it's a challenge in Banner as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
My students always were, like when I were, and usually in my position, I always talk to the students that were having trouble. They would find the highest GPA on the page and say, "Well, I've got a 3.7. What do you mean I don't have a high enough GPA?" But so just a kind of a review of what these GPAs are. This is coming from Banner here. So this GPA is coming from Banner, and I'll show you exactly where it's coming from in a minute. This, and then each of your blocks, and each of these dark red or the red things are a block. Each block, you're displaying a GPA for each block. Now, it's stuff like that you can turn off and on and localize. And so many schools will turn off the GPAs within these mid-level blocks or lower-level blocks. And so that
has been talked about at our school too, about turning those off. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just, and that's an example of a localization. And so, and even what you call them, I mean, some people will want to put in the word degree GPA or something like that. This is actually a localization you guys did right here. Units, you made it units instead of credits. Typically that says credits. So that's something that y'all have done. Okay. So let me pull up the PowerPoint. I'll send you an updated PowerPoint, Jeff, too, because I went in last night and added more things about localization, so I wasn't sure where we were going to go with it. So just real quickly, kind of as a summary, for the classic dashboard, what we're looking at, it uses XSL files to control what's in the middle. It uses a cascading style sheet file to control the color and the fonts. And then what I mean by this last bullet is you can actually put in, I don't think you guys have done it, but other schools have, you can put in like an if statement in here to say, if I'm a student, maybe don't display something, or if I'm an advisor, display something. So it's just a whole lot of control you can do within this. Now, that's compared to the responsive dashboard, which we'll look at in a minute. It uses something called message files. And really all those message files do, all you can do are change the titles. So you can change things like calling it overall GPA if you wanted to call it IVC GPA or something like that. That's about the only thing you can do in the responsive dashboard. You can change the colors as well, but not nearly what you've done here. And I'll walk you through all that here in a minute. Okay, so let's kind of dig into the classic dashboard localizations. the new tool that came out with 5.0 and that we've used here is called Composer. And in Composer is where you can modify all of the different types of files. And the different types of files you'll see are obviously images, which is, let me make this smaller so we can kind of see both at the same time. Pull this over here. So images are things like up at the top here, those type of things. On your introduction page, you had an image that we modified as well. Then you have the XSL files. Like I said, it's in the middle. There's a couple of different important XSL files that I'll talk about, and we'll pull those up. You've got the cascading style sheet. You've got the SHEP scripts that handle these vertical and horizontal portions. You do actually have a message file in the classic dashboard as well. That can be accessed through Composer. And then finally, these FOP technology for the PDFs. Now, I thought I noticed the other day that your PDFs, and I think I actually looked in production when I was initially doing this. So see, your PDFs have not been localized, and maybe if somebody can confirm that on production as well, that when you press PDF, it comes up with, this is the default, for the most part, the default PDF or audit without the colors. And you can if you want, and again, I'll tell you guys this, but probably maybe not the registrar's office, you could modify that PDF as well. Now it's a whole nother set of files. So it's, again, additional work for you to do. Okay, so let's go into Composer. Let's take a look at Composer. So I've just logged into Composer, and you guys should be the only people that have access to Composer. When you log in, you see the different types of files. These are just, think of these as menu options. So language properties are the message files. Shepherd scripts are those things along the horizontal and vertical axis. Images are obviously images, cascading style sheet, and then the XSL files. So let's start with the easiest thing, images. And so when you click on one of these items, it's going to list all of the available images that are in the DegreeWorks right now. And I mentioned yesterday, you've got a baseline version of everything and then a localized version of everything. So there's two images that typically get changed. Icon DegreeWorks is one, and notice how it's just a file out here and I think Dave Neal did your localization. So he loaded this image. This is an image for you, and you can just choose it. You know, you can pick whatever you want. My screen is not.
Question on that one, Dennis. Is there specific dimensions that we should be following for that image?
There is. That's a really good question. There is specific dimensions. And I don't know them right off the bat what they are. Okay. But what they do is they will fill up. Let me get back to your dashboard.
And it looks like it's just one, so we can't put in based on responsive, like we couldn't put a large one and then a smaller one depending on screen size. It's just one. It's
just one, that's correct. And then there is and you may want to make a note of this. So that image size is one thing. Let me see if it'll tell us how big it is. I think I'd have to pull up in a graphic editor or something to show how big that image is. But that image is just really this area right here.
So just copy that one.
Okay. You can. When we get to the responsive dashboard, you know, the old Monty Python saying, and now for something completely different. Well, that's what,
okay.
In the responsive dashboard, everything is completely different, including, for some reason, the way they do the images. So, so that's different. But what I was going to say is, you might want to make a note, and I should add it into the PowerPoint. There is a variable in CFG 020 DAP 14. And I think it's in DAP 14. I may be wrong. And it's the size of the header.
Okay.
Maybe it's DAP. Maybe it's DAP 13. No. Maybe it's. Again, I didn't mean to do that. No, it's one called web. That's it. CFG020 web.
Okay.
There is a header frame height variable. And what that does is that controls the width of this whole red area here, including those boxes, those vanilla looking boxes.
Okay.
So if you see that, if you've got an image that's bigger, what it's going to do, this is a variable width area right here above these boxes. So it may push this whole thing down. You can adjust, you can then adjust that value here in controller.
Okay.
Bigger or smaller. And it's actually is pretty thin. 79 is pretty thin, but
yeah.
Let me make a change real quick to this. Where was the images? Just so you have it. Okay. Now, all that being said, again, out in my Texas vernacular, I have to speak out of the other side of my mouth because when Dave Neal did your localizations, Dave's kind of from the old school, which he hard coded this in there. He didn't use that value in Composer. And I say that, and I know that because it's not enabled right here. And so the way Composer works is you basically load a new version, whatever it is, image, XSL file, or what have you, and then you can enable it, turn it off and on. And the reason Dave does that is because if you notice, there's only one spot for an image right here. There's no secondary area. And then unfortunately in Composer, for all these areas, you can't add anything in here. You know, these are the only things you have to play with. So in order to get both this image and this image in there, he had to hard code it. I'm going to right click on here and just view that frame source real quick. And this is the file. You can see
we're not seeing that part, Dennis. We're still
okay.
Just seeing Composer.
You're still seeing Composer. I'm going to stop my sharing.
And when you're saying he hard coded, are you talking about in the CSS file?
No, he actually hard coded it in the HTML file.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of did it the old way. Can you
so
see that?
We have access to do that too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you have access to do that in your. I mean, it's just you'll have to go out and do it from the server though. The file name, and here it is. It's sdheaderframe.jsp. So that's on the web server. JSP. Can you see that? Are you seeing that? The source.
Now we're seeing the JSP file. Yeah, the source.
Okay. Yeah. So this file is the source. It's on your web server, probably under the Tomcat directory. And he just edited it using VI or whatever he used. And so what he did here, and here's the code. You see, he commented out. Dave is really good about comments, and so it's very easy to follow his logic here. So he commented out what was typically out there, which is basically going out and grabbing that image, and it gets that image from Composer.
Okay.
And so he put in his own calls to go get these two images, which are now, they're loaded in that, again, that Tomcat directory under a directory called images_dg2.
So because he commented those out, even if we went into Composer and enabled that, would that even take effect?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. We'd have to
No.
first remove those comments.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's, however you want to do it. I know Dave really likes to do that in that header frame, and
you have more control that way.
You certainly have more control. Yeah, absolutely. Also, I was going to show you the width here. So here's the class that it calls, and a class is just the way you control the color and the font. So let's keep we'll just make a copy. I'm just going to copy general header so we remember what class we're looking for. So it's using that class to draw that table at the top, that div at the top, and then putting in the images. So let's go back to Composer now. Let's go out to the CSS file now. There's several CSS files out here. The one you're going to use 90% of the time or look at is called dashboardstyles.css. And see how here it is enabled. He's got it turned on.
Okay.
So if I turn this off, and since we're in test, we're going to go ahead and just do that real quick. I'm just going to disable it. All right. And it may cause an error because he may have some class. Well, actually, I think with classes, it just won't call them. So I'm going to log off, log back in. Let me just go all the way out. I think I'm in right here. So let me go back to the classic dashboard. Sometimes you have to clear your cache. So as you're testing this, just be aware of that. Yeah. So you see the difference here?
Yeah.
So let's pull up our student even. And
I see what you mean about the whole one image thing now. It's obvious that it only lets the one because it's making the second one wrap now and look funky.
Yeah, right. So you see how all the colors are that ugly Aleutian color. And that's all because we turned off that style sheet. So that's one of the cool things about Composer. It makes development or modifications really easy. You can, if you mess up, a lot of times you do mess up in XSL programming, just turn it off real quick and see what you did.
Oh, no.
And so just by clicking the enable now, if I'll go back through and I'll do it here in a minute, it'll go in and put in all of our new colors that Dave has put in here for you. Now, the process I use, you can edit it. This is just like what we were talking about yesterday. You can edit it right here. It's got a little bit of edit functions. You can do the Control F and it'll find. So we can actually, I think it was header, something header, general header. So see, here's your color. So you can do a find if you want. I like to do it just like I showed you yesterday with the ship config and the banner extract. I like to do a select all and then copy it and pull it into my Notepad++ and do all of the editing in here. And Notepad++ will know that it's if you save it as a CSS file, so let's just save it as dashboard styles. It'll format it for us so that we have our nice color control formatting. So now if we find general header, we can see here's what Dave changed that color to. This is also a way to do version control. And so you can, with Composer, just like with Controller yesterday, there's no version control with it. You say you've got one copy baseline and then you've got the latest copy that you've moved over.
Yeah, I do like that he's keeping the previous colors in there too, just commenting out. That's good practice.
Yeah, that's we both do that. I think again, Dave does just a great job of documenting what he did, and usually he'll mark somewhere at the beginning. He'll put those main colors too that he changed. So this is where I know this is where you were asking about your CSS to modify. Yeah. This is it right here.
Cool, awesome.
And so if you want to see a different color, this is where it'll be. The same thing goes for, so you notice there is no JSP files in here, unfortunately. So you have to use, you have to go straight into the system to edit those JSP files, just like you did in the old days. And they've taken the place of the HTML file. So used to it was a file called SD_header_frame.html. All those are now JSP files on the system. The XSL file, now that's the only really CSS file you will probably edit. Now I noticed in the documentation he did a little bit to the student planner.css. Let's see, okay, so looks like he did. Look like maybe I thought there was. Notice when I clicked on it and see what the message says here, an existing record for this locale, kind of weird, could not be found, but what way. Basically what it's saying is there's no localized version of this CSS file in the database right now. So if you wanted to make a change to this, what you would do is go into it like I did, press the copy button, and it copies it all there for you. Now you can make your changes, do what you want. When you save it, it's saving it to the database, but again, it's not enabled yet. Nothing goes into play until you press the enable button. So what I use the enable button a lot of times for is if I've made a bunch of changes and I sit and it's a mistake, and I just will start backing them out by disabling it, and then try to figure out where I made the mistake at. So we can leave it in here like this. Since I saved it, you're going to have two versions in the database of this CSS. No worries. I mean, it's just out there. It's not, like I said, not in play. Let's go to the XSL files. This is really where all the fun stuff is. The main XSL file that gets called is DGW report.xsl. DGW report.xsl is sort of like in a C program, like the main function. It calls everything else. So again, Dave has done all of his localizations in this file. He's got it enabled, and he's indicated what he's done to it. I again like these XSL files. I would rather look at it in my editor than look at it in Composer, but it doesn't really matter. So let's walk through this a little bit. And I'm not going to get into all the in-depth things with XSL, but just to kind of give you a taste of it. You start out with identifying your variables, and so you can see here Dave added a couple of variables, the ECA type, good and bad. This is where, if you wanted to change the name of those blocks, so like a lot of schools don't like the word fall through courses, maybe they'll call it courses not counted or something like this. You would just modify that label, and that's where that would get changed. So when you look at your dashboard, this particular student doesn't have any fall through classes, but that's what this label is the fall through classes. Let's go ahead and log out of here and get back to our good colors. Oh, and by the way, looks like we lost our thing across
our
the
menu.
top here. Yeah, our menu with that because
the 79 is not enough because of the second
not
image.
enough to show it. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I'm just going to close this window, and hopefully it won't. And like I said, sometimes if you don't log out, you have to clear your cache. So it's not real happy about not logging out when you're doing this development. So especially when you're using the responsive dashboard, try to log out if you're making modifications. And so now you can see it looks better. We've got all our good stuff in here again. So let's just go find a a student real quick. Let's find the academic
I have
year.
fall through if you want to use my ID.
Okay. All righty.
It's G00. Oh, I could put it in the chat. 704680.
Okay.
I think your teacher.
Okay. So, and you've got, okay, good. You've got these things in here as well.
Yeah.
So you've got, looks like you've got the ECA classes and you've got the insufficient. And that's classes that don't count. So let's look at our, let's go back to our thing here. So those are coming from here, insufficient. And we'll get down to the ECA stuff here in a minute. So what Dave did right away in this is he's got a template set up called T-fall through, and he calls it with, you know, whether it's good, if you've got any good classes or bad classes, and that's how that, we'll look at those here in a minute. And so he chose not to use a label. So you could have used instead of using the fall through label, he's just hard coded elective classes allowed or elective classes not allowed. And that's where you're getting these things right here. Now, well, I'll talk about it here in a minute. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is. So those kind of changes are not allowed in the
Jeff,
okay.
You read my mind.
That's where we were kind of like, oh, we
Yeah.
want responsive, but that's such a big deal to us. I mean, it's
yeah.
just the clarity. But you said they might be
It is in 504. 504 came out yesterday, by the way, while we were
there
talking.
We go, Jeff.
I downloaded all of the documents this morning, so I'll look at them a little bit closer. And ECA fall through is one of the choices. I don't know much about it yet, so
that's promising.
Yeah, it's promising. I'll point out a couple other things that got added as well. But since this is such a big deal to you guys, I would not go to the responsive dashboard until you flesh that out, that it's doing what you want it to do. So I'm not gonna go through too much more on this XSL, but in here, so think of this DGW report as one big main file that it goes through. Now he added those templates up here at the beginning. We'll get out of these templates. So here's really let me get to where it actually starts, the main body. Okay, so here's really where this guy is starting at. This is really the start of your drawing your audit. So first thing it does is check to see whether or not you want the legend at the top of the page. You can see how that's commented out. A lot of schools do that. They'll put their legend at the top of the page. That's another thing you can't do with this responsive dashboard. Not a problem, you guys, since it doesn't matter. You've commented that out. The next thing it does is calls a template called T-School header. Some of these templates are within this file. Some of them are within other XSL files. Just be aware of that. Then it shows the student header. That's an example of one being in a different file, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Draws the progress bars, and then goes through all the blocks. And so that basically, that's really what happened. This is the guts of drawing the audit right here in the middle of DGW report. Now, you might wonder, why did Dave put those functions here in the middle of this file? And he could have put them anywhere in the file. You know, normally you put them at the bottom, and I don't know, you probably just did it at the top because where he wanted to highlight it right away. But why didn't he put it into another file? It may be a question. Unfortunately, again, you can't add any XSL files to Composer. So with Composer, it's these files. They are what they are. You can't use any. You can't add any in there. So hopefully, in future versions, they give you an opportunity to add XSL files in here. Like I said, you can't right now, though. Where's our dashboard? All right.
So to modify that student view, that header right there, you're saying that that's not in that file. It references that file, but it's a separate file?
Yeah, yeah. Again, right. You're right in line with what I was about to talk about. So the DGW report basically does all this thing. It calls a separate file to do this, and then it also calls a separate file to actually do the blocks itself. So, and I think I put this in the PowerPoint. This area right here is called audit student header.xsl. And this one is called audit blocks.xsl. Let me just make sure I put that in here.
This one we've talked about modifying, just because if you notice, there's a lot that we're not using, like advisor, college, minor. So either replacing those with other fields that are of use or just hiding them.
Yep. So if you modify this, and I'll just put it in red, these are really the three main XSL files right here. So DGW report's the main one. Audit student header is that student header, and then audit blocks is the actual blocks inside there. You may want to edit it as well, and I'll show you why. When Jeff talked about that GPA, that can be turned off or on inside of auditblocks.xsl. So let's talk about the student header here. Yeah, you guys actually have the plain vanilla student header, which I'll have to tell you, I'm not sure I've seen any other school using the classic dashboard that has a plain vanilla audit student header. Good for you in the IT department, but I'm just surprised that you're.
Oh, we get pressure to modify it all the time. We just haven't had the resources.
That's typical. So let's go to Composer, and that's in one called audit student header. And see, you don't even have a new version out there. So I'm going to go ahead and create one, and then I'm going to copy it off to and put it out in Notepad. Okay, and let's go ahead and save it so it formats it for us. So here's where, and again, my buddy Dave, he likes to rename this file to like IVC student header or something like, an indicator, and then call that XSL file. And in the old version, you could do that, but in Composer, you can't do that anymore. It's got to be audit student header. So just be aware of that. And so that I guess it is what it is. So here's the template, the heading of the template. So it gets called. It does a bunch of stuff here at the beginning, and I just wanted to show you a couple of lines that if you want to edit it, what you can do. So it's really right here is where it starts drawing the student header. It still uses the old TR and TDs to do a cells and all that. So I know the move is to use that div command, but this audit student header still uses the old, I guess, terminology and the formatting. So the first row is right here. That's row 1. And so you can see the first cell is the student name here. So it has the title of the cell, and you can see it uses a particular class for just the title. And then it has a different class for the data inside of the cell. This is an interesting one in that it looks to see if I'm the student, and if I am the student, then it just puts my name up there. If I'm not the student, then it puts a hyperlink to where I can email the student. And so that's a little bit different than most of the cells. So let's take a look at it. So I'm not you, Melody. So if you would have logged in here, you wouldn't get that hyperlink right there. But since I'm not you, that's why I'm the hyperlink. So this is straight from the XSL. We've got student, the student name, the level, and the actual value in the level. Now, what many schools will do, and for you guys, I wouldn't do it now since you may be moving to responsive, is they have more than just 2 columns. And really you have 4 columns here, but really 2 columns of data. Many schools will have 3 columns right here. And if you're wanting to do that, really all you do is, add another cell right here and put it in. and you could make that cell anything. Let's just for fun do something here. We'll just copy all this, and we'll just, instead of using a select statement, let's just test. We'll call it test cell, and we won't put any data, or we'll just say something like this. And so I'll leave just a test localization just to know what to get rid of later on. So I'll save it, and I'm just going to do a select all, and then copy, go to Composer, and I'm going to select all here and delete, and then paste. Okay, so let's make sure that I did it right. I didn't paste back in what I already deleted them.
I think you did, because you selected cut.
Yeah.
So when you selected cut, you cut and pasted the
I should have done that
back.
first, and I thought that's what I did. So let's copy. I shouldn't have done a cut. You're right. I usually do it just with my fingers. I wanted to show you what I did, so that's right. Like, threw me off there. Okay, so now this should look.
I've seen a lot of schools do a lot of pretty cool things with the header, but like you said, one advantage of us not taking advantage in the past is that we are able to move to responsive without taking so much away from them.
That's right. Yeah.
But I do like the ability to customize this. So
yeah,
kind of a bummer.
So hang on to that though. I mean, there is a you can actually do some things in the responsive dashboard too. So don't turn it off yet. So anyway, I need to save it, and I need to enable it, and I'm going to log out and log back in. I should be able to just go here. I'm going to memorize this password before the end of the week. Jeff, you have some very interesting passwords all the time. I'll tell you that.
Try to have it so that you can put it in your head. At some point. The
only thing I put in my head are things like ASDF or 123 or something like that. Okay, so it looks like it didn't. We may have to refresh my cache here. Let's go ahead and just clear up my cache. Actually, what I like to do, and what I recommend you guys do, is I like to use a different browser. That way I can clear my cache and do everything I need to do. And that way I don't have to, because if I would clear my cache here on Chrome, then I have to log back into Composer and everything else. So let's just do it this way. Maybe I memorized it. And then loading you on. And so here's what we just added. So you'd want to fill in all the way down. So, okay. So pretty simple with Composer to make changes like this. So let's go ahead and enable it, and I'm just going to delete everything in here and save it so that you don't have that anymore. You guys are not so you know, it just continues on through this whole header. You can just see the different rows. What I like to do is I like to go ahead when I'm making changes. I'll go ahead and put in here like what all the cells are. You know, maybe like on this one it's a GPA, minor. And that way you know what that row is talking about. So because as you're making changes, it gets a little confusing in here sometimes. Jeff you asked about the GPA. There's a little bit of logic here to actually go in here and display the GPA. It's trying to find that, you know, the SSGPA, but it may display the DWGPA if you don't have that other thing in there. If you wanted to add more rows, very simply, you just, you know, add another row with those two groups of cells and add that. Some schools also add the band 80 records in here, and you can do that. And if you ever decide to do that, let me know or let Dave know. The path name to get to that band 80 record is a little funky. It's this, and then it's the word report, and then whatever the code is. So that's a something that we have to, you know, have to set up for you, or and then show you how to set up, and then you have it. Okay, so that's audit student. One more to show you is the audit blocks. So let's jump into that real quick. And other than that, you're probably not ever going to modify any of these XSLs. Audit blocks, looks like one of us, and it could have been Dave or I may have done it yesterday when I was playing around, has already at least tried to copy something over there, and then we maybe got rid of it. Let's go ahead and do the whole thing here. But I think you can see it's probably a good idea to save it locally if you've got some kind of version control at your school and your shop about how do you do programming, because it's very easy to overwrite something that you did in Composer over and make a mistake. Beware if you, like in that student header, if you make any type of syntactical mistake in here, or maybe put in a label that doesn't exist, or mess up a TD or TR or something like that. XSL is very unforgiving. What you get in the error message you get is nothing. You get in Firefox, it'll at least say sometimes TR is missing or something like that, and that's it. Nothing will get drawn. It'll just be completely blank, and it'll say error in XSL formatting TR not drawn. Chrome's even worse. Most of the time Chrome just won't render. I mean, you'll just sit there with a blank screen. So that's why I like to display it in Firefox. It's a little bit better as to what the error code is, but just be aware XSL is very unforgiving. I mean, there's if it's anything out of whack, it's gonna blow up at you. So audit blocks is really what draws. The block, and again by blocks I mean all the different. Let me get back to. Oh, I'm sorry. Each one of these is a separate block. So this is all controlled through this audit blocks XSL. What I wanted to show you in here is there is a way to control what goes into here. So Jeff, if you guys wanted to get rid of GPAs, like say on your major blocks or your concentration blocks or something like that, it's in this audit blocks file is where you would make that change. There is a let's see, all the way down to the bottom of the file. There is a function in here called tblock header. It's called tblock header choose, and what this thing does, you can see that it's just a big when choose statement that says, okay, when the block is something draw it some way or the other. And they've got all these examples out there for you. Now, you can go in and make your own up if you want, but they've got like 11 different examples of what a block header looks like. And so you can just see it's got some logic here. So if you wanted to say on the, so you can see here the degree and the major block are all calling this same sub template T-block header. So if you changed one of these to, I'm just going to make this up. I'm just going to say, let's call the major T-block 7. I don't know. I don't even know what that one does.
So can you condition it based on class? Because, for instance,
Yeah.
for the GPA, the counselors don't want it, but the ones in A&R do want it.
You can by user type. Yep. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
That's a good question. And so you can by student, by user type, by if it's a student, do it one way. If it's an advisor, do it another way. You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of control here. That's not the story in a minute, but there's a lot of control here. So let me get rid of that one. Put this one in. Save it. Enable it. Log out, back on. And I did the major. What I just did then was the major. So let's see what the major looks like. Got a lot of copying and pasting going on here. Looks like I didn't actually even change it. I don't know if I cleared my cache. Let me do that. Let's try it. And I don't know what number 7 is, but should be different. Should be something different. Yeah. Okay. So see now there's only units required, units applied. So it removed the GPA and it removed the catalog year. Again, in this file, there's a bunch of different choices, and you can create your own. And to be honest with you, that's normally what I'll do. I'll create my own template and put in there what I want, copy one of these other ones. So underneath here, there's just a whole bunch of versions of this. Here's number 1, and they've got a little bit of information in there on down the line. So anyway, that's your block header. So when you want to go change if you want to take majors or modify that, that's where that's done at. So let's go back and turn that off. So we don't see that anymore. So that's that part. Now, let's talk about the Shep scripts right here. And that would be pretty much the last thing on the classic dashboard. Shep scripts, I don't know, Melody, have you looked at a Shep script before? Have you opened up one of those? Okay.
I have not.
Okay. Your eyes are wide now. Wait till you see one.
I've been wanting to play with them. Jeff knows. We have our online architect that messed with this, back in the day when we first set it up, and consultants, but we haven't really dabbed in it ourselves. But it's been
okay.
It's been a to-do item.
Okay.
So.
Probably not something on my to-do list is to look at Shep scripts, because they're some of the strangest programming I've ever seen. It's unique to DegreeWorks and unique to how they did it. Most of them start with an SD2 number. These again are stored in the database. They used to not be. They used to be on the web server. Now, and for some reason in SHEP scripts, they've got this nice column out here to tell us if they're enabled or disabled. I don't know why they don't have that in the XSL or the CSS, but anyway, I don't think you guys have any enabled right now. Oh, okay, I take it back. Search custom is okay. Good. That's the one I wanted to look at, anyways. So it looks like you have one, and it's obviously not named like I said it would be named. But you can see what's, and a lot of times the biggest challenge is like, well, what the heck? Which one am I looking at? What file am I looking at, or where do I go to edit it? But I'm just going to right click right here. When you view page source, a lot of times it'll come up and tell you, let's see, where you are and which, it looks like it didn't here. Maybe I need to do, oh, this frame, view frame source. It'll a lot of times tell you where you are and which one, and normally you can look for something like SD something in it and you'll find it. Let's see if it tells us in here. They've actually documented this fairly well. I'm going to do it over here on this side. Frame source. Let's see where. Here's the style sheet that it's using. I don't see where it's telling us. Press F12. Is it going to tell us? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't see where it's telling us the name of the file. Like I said, though, in the documentation, believe it or not, in the technical guide, and they haven't updated the technical guide, at least for 503 they haven't, but it'll tell you, it's got a picture of it, and it'll say this is SD Oddvert or SD Con or whatever it is. So,
and actually, this might be a good time to show them where that documentation is.
Yeah.
So if you go to banner.imperial.edu, we have it stashed off there.
Okay.
And so there on that right side of the screen.
Okay.
If you see all the
right in front of
documentation.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So scroll down in that area, and you'll see DegreeWorks at the very bottom. Down there.
Good.
Now there's a 503 all docs. Right there.
All right. Okay, great. Okay.
So
So
the technical guide should be in there someplace.
yeah. So they now have two technical guides. This one, the configuration technical guide, has a lot of those system variables, and we're going to talk more about those in a bit. That has a lot of that information listed, and then there's just the old. I call it the old. This is the kind of the guide that's been there forever. So I'm going to go ahead and load that up, and we've got a pretty good section on localizing in here. Let's go ahead and just jump to it. Make sure I'm not telling you something that maybe in the wrong one. Maybe they changed it to the other one. DegreeWorks web localization, there it is. Okay, so they kind of talk about what I've already mentioned, and they define those files for you. So here's audit blocks and the different information. But in here, that also, and then there's all the SHEP. Well, we haven't got to the SHEP screenshot. See how they have it, something like that. So here's information about that web setting that we talked about earlier. This area, and they should also let's see. And I don't know why they put all that junk in there. That's more or less not really used, but let's see if it gets to the ship scripts part, which is always, the ship scripts are always the hardest part. So here they talk about DGW report, which is our area right there. And they are still referencing the old planner, by the way, right here. Notice that, Jeff, they're talking about the old planner, and that doesn't even work in 503. So they've never updated that documentation.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true, because it's not even in 503 anymore, right?
No. Okay, student context area. Here we go. So let's see if we can get. Okay, so here's the search page. I mean, that's the one we're going to get to here in a minute. Do they ever talk about the different? It's always a challenge to say, okay, what shell script file is it that we're looking at?
And how many were, I mean, they look like a bunch. How many roughly are we talking about here?
There's a lot, and I guess it's not telling us the way I thought it would. What, so basically there's one for this area, one for this area, and one for this area. Those are the main ones you would do anything for, and then one for find, and actually two for find. So let's talk about these right here, because this is something that you guys have modified. So this is when you press the find button, you get this window, and when you get this window, it pops open the search custom shell script. Say that 3 times. And actually it'll pop up there's two of them. One is SD2 search. It looks like we haven't done anything with it. And then search custom. Search custom is a little bit easier to understand, so let me open it up. And okay, so basically what has been done here is the whole thing has been deleted because you guys don't really have a search any custom areas. So looking on the left-hand side here, so what this would do is if you, and I think in test, I mean in prod, you guys may want to look at prod, the search in prod. It seems like when I looked at it in the past, your prod system used all these default values here. Can somebody look at that?
Yeah, I have it up, and it is it's different from what you just saw.
You've got an area on the right hand side that has sport.
Yeah.
And if you click on it, you get these items. So yeah. Part of this is you have to hard code those items in here. And so you may not even have, these are all the things that Raymond put in here for test for our baseline. Is that what you see, Melody?
Yeah,
you see,
I see is in some sport, men's soccer, women's soccer. Yep. Yeah. Those are the options that come up.
If you really want to see something funny, look at, let's see, which one was it?
An academic standing is there. I don't know if that functions.
No, it doesn't. Not for, because it says good and bad, right?
Oh dear. Yeah.
So you guys have gone along with it like that.
And then student attributes, honors versus foreign versus at risk. How we would even define at risk, I wouldn't know. And then honors, we don't even have honors students as far as honor courses.
Let me disable this, and now everybody else will see what you're just seeing. And let me go back to here. And see if it'll. Some of these you have to clear your cache, some you don't. Hopefully you're on this one.
Well, I guess there's not a way to post a snippet in Zoom, is there?
You can attach a file. I can do a snippet and I can attach it, but it would be like an image that you then would have to download.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
faster if I just shared my screen or if he logged in either way.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
and it not that big a deal. The good thing is you're not really using the search custom information, and I'm going to say this, and you're maybe laughing at me. You can't do that in the responsive dashboard anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's not impacting you guys.
I'm just surprised we haven't gotten calls and complaints about it.
I am too. I really am too. So then this is all baseline right here. So this is what she was saying. So right now this is not tied to anything. And if you did decide to use this in here, you can. The way you tie it is these are basically Band 80 items that you find for a student, and it looks here
so
at the Band 80
is
items.
actually using it.
Right. Or I mean, does it function to where if they select a sport, it will still give them a list of students, or it's because it's not tied to anything, it just gives them an empty list?
It's not tied to anything, so it's going to give them an empty
Okay,
list.
so that's why. So they've tried to use
Yeah.
it didn't work, so they just realized we didn't map those
Yeah.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not giving them like false positives.
Right. Yeah. So what it's looking for is a Band 80 item called sport. And you don't have that. You don't have that defined, and you don't have any students with that. So that's why it's not being picked up. But if you notice, and let's jump back to that other search. This these SHEP scripts are search. So what they do is they look at they go out and they have this type of function, which is what I've never seen before, where it does this ILUCX mask. And basically it's looking in your UCX table, CFT 020. It's looking at the word, looking for the key search, bytes 11, which is basically saying that's your degree area. If that's set to yes, then display degree, which I think you guys are probably searching on degree. And that's where that is. So let's go to to compare, let's go to CFT 020 search. And think of this as a record in the database, and each one of these are 1 byte fields in there. So the key is search, the first byte is show degree, and it says if that value is yes, then show the degree. Then it looks at bytes, starting with byte 6. Value 1 is the school. So if that's set to yes, show it, and on down the line. So it's reading that UCX table and looking at all of these and knowing how many bytes are between each area. So if you just did a search in the database for this particular record, you would see a bunch of YNs in there. That's basically what this SHEP script is doing. It does the same kind of thing also, and I don't know if this file has it, but if a person has access to something. So let's look at that SD, let's look at SD AUD. We'll look at the vertical tabs. It does the same kind of thing in here. If you have that key, so when it's looking for, does this person have the SD audit key? And if they do, then it does all this stuff. If it has the SD aud run key, then it shows that. If you have the history key, then it shows the history tab. So that's I'll close the search thing. But that's basically how it's drawing this area right here. So if I didn't have that history key, there would be nothing right here. This would be blank. Okay. So kind of a weird programming way it does that, but it's either looking at your keys or it looks at a UCX table and then draws something on the screen based on that. And then it's actually also waiting for action to happen. So if you hit that history key, then it goes out and gets that page and draws that history window. Again, something I usually have nightmares about. So
I just think it's funny that we modified some of the search. Obviously, we turned off the CFG 20, we turned off the minor, we turned off the school, various things we don't use, but yet we didn't remove them from the header, and we left the sport.
Yeah,
It's just interesting.
Well, keep this in mind, the way this is done, because with the responsive dashboard, everything is done like this for the most part. You can forget everything I've talked about for the last 2 hours once we go to the responsive dashboard, because it's all done via this type of setup for the most part. Okay, questions or comments so far on the localizations? Now, as I said, you can forget all that, and let's talk about the responsive dashboard, which is, let me show you the responsive dashboard if you haven't seen it.
This is the recording?
It's still recording. Yeah, I didn't turn off the recording. Here it is. Okay, so first of all, you can see quite a bit different in the initial login. And I don't see Melody. She may have had to step out, but let's just keep using her. And you can, as you guys have it set up for both are open right now. What happened to the chat? There it is. You can have them both going at the same time. Works fine. So you can see some, and I haven't really logged in here at all to do anything, Jeff, so I haven't played with it or done anything. So a lot of stuff that looks kind of ugly here. And then you see that you see all the courses. And something weird about the responsive dashboard is initially when they, I guess, load it from it does not, there's a flag that's not turned on, so you don't see any of the icons here. So we'll turn that on here in just a second. But here's the header.
So maybe that's the dashboard that Betsy was saying about.
Could be. I mean, you've got dials here now, and not the bars that you had in the past. When you do a what if, you can show the what if as a dial as well. Let's go ahead, and so in terms of localizing this, like I said, you're really limited, but you don't have to be an XSL programmer like you saw earlier. You don't have to worry about the TDs and the TRs and the ship scripts and all that stuff. Localization in here is done two ways: one through settings and controller, and then one within Composer called a message file. The first one, let's just turn on some. Let's turn your icons on, and that's in. And I'll write this up so you'll have it. So this will be something we'll want to do for if you bring it up in production. So in RPT 36, for some reason, they don't. They have that turned to no. So now I'm going to close that, and I'm going to log out. Back in here. So the one that I should be memorizing.
Yeah, so that should be at the very bottom there.
Yeah. I saw it the other day.
Oh, okay, good.
And I'll get my his number. And now you see the icons. Why they turned that off, I have no idea. So, but as far as describing and all the different blocks and everything, nothing. The internal stuff has not changed at all. It's just the way it's displayed on the screen.
So the classes still apply, the reg and the advisor and
yes,
and all that?
Yeah. Good question or comment, but yeah, exactly. The class keys, they all still apply. There's a few different keys that you may need to add for this, but otherwise there'll still be the reg class, stu class, and ADBX class. Yeah, all that, and it still pulls it still uses the same tables that we talked about yesterday. SHEP user mask, the RAD tables, DAP tables, all those are the same. None of that's changed. The only thing that's different is just the look, the interface to it. Now, except, and this is the case even for the classic dashboard, your SEP, the old SEP that you were using currently now in 416, those tables have changed to a different, they've got a different format and different names and everything. Okay, the way you have a little bit of control over your colors, not near like you did. You know, I don't know if you noticed in that CSS file, but there are literally hundreds of classes in the classic dashboard that control the colors of everything on here. I would say almost every letter in the classic dashboard could be a different color if you wanted it to. You know, there was a class for the label, and then there was a class for the data item. That's not the case here. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that this is ADA compliant, and part of it is the fact that it's responsive. So if a student pulls this up on his iPad, it's going to look the same, or if it's iPhone or whatever, it's going to shrink it automatically. Now, they could pull up the classic dashboard on your iPhone, but it's going to be, you're going to have to use the controls on the vertical and horizontal window controls to make it look very good. This will automatically move those things around for you. It's got some neat features that I think are pretty cool. You can collapse all of the blocks, so it comes up like that. And as a matter of fact, when you pull this up on an iPhone, this is how it initially looks, with all the blocks collapsed like this. So you see a quick summary of everything in here, and if you want to expand any of the blocks, you can do that. So that's a lot of times users like that, and they'll want to see that type of functionality. In terms of us, though, making it look like what we want it to look like, I'll show you real quick on the color. Oh, it looks like I don't have, I need it. Here's an example of a key I need. I need a key. There's another sub menu under here to maintain the color and everything. So why don't we add that key real quick? This will, and this may even give you an opportunity to watch what we need to do. So if a user calls in and says, I don't have a particular key, and you think they should have that key, here's how you go about doing that. And I'm gonna have to remember what that key is now. But let's just put it in, we'll put it in the reg group. So I'm just gonna say reg 2. I'm gonna edit that. And got a lot of keys in here, so I'm gonna add a key. And the key is called, and I'm just going to look in here real quick, see if I can see it. Yeah, I went past it. Control freeze or something. on one second. Let me look in the documentation. And all those cells, look in the documentation. SD admin. So let's see if let me see that key. So I must already have it. Okay, so let me ask you guys. So here's the situation. I'm not seeing something here. I'm not seeing a key that I'm supposed to be seeing. Your user will probably contact you with that same type of thing. How do you go about adding that key? Okay, so I looked in the book, in the manual, and I found out it was SD admin. I'm going to put it in the message here. It's the SD admin key, what I need. So any thoughts on how I should check to see if I've got a user number. Guest 2 is my name, but that, I have a, so anyway, and that's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you their name. How would you go about now trying to determine why this person doesn't have this key or how to add that key to them? Any thoughts or anything on that?
You may go maybe to the admin and go to the users.
Go to
add
in controller. Yep. Go to users. That's a good start.
Type
also doing
name.
a web logon. Do a web logon for that.
Yeah,
idea.
Jeff. I wanted you to say that. That's so yes, Betsy, you're right too. The first thing I would do is what Jeff just mentioned. Go to web logon, and let's see why that person doesn't have that key. Since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and check my web admin. Check my guest. And I'm looking for SD admin. I don't see it as a key that I got. It's interesting. I've got SRN reg, so
yeah, but not the reg 2, right? It's a reg 2.
Well, and it should automatically pull in, Jeff. reg 2 should pull in if you've got this. Although you need to have this in shep config maybe. What I'm thinking is I've got a minus somewhere that's taking that key away from me. And web logon is exactly the place to look for that. That's through transit or through the command line. So can somebody log into transit? And let's see if somebody besides Jeff can go to transit. I'll put the, I couldn't get into transit, but Jeff can. So let's put that. I'll put the link in the box. Well, I guess you can go to the test this area too. So we want someone to go to transit. I guess it's here, right, Jeff? This right here. So can I get you guys? I had a bug flying around me. Go to that. I'm going to test it, but I'm sure I'm not going to be able to get in.
Do you want to try it, Betsy?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm actually trying.
Okay. So if you want to, if you get to that link and that you get a login, do DGWMGR.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah.
I'll type it in.
DW MGR.
I put it in the chat.
Yeah, so Dennis put it into the chat.
Okay.
And then the password is tuxedo, all caps.
And there's my user ID. So Betsy, how about you share your we're going to use you as a guinea pig.
Okay. Sure. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep. Yeah, so go ahead and sign in. Now this is where you would do the GGWMGR right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are some things here that are still using the local accounts that they're not using the single sign-on.
Right, and
this
right
is-
here it was tuxedo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tuxedo, all caps. Yeah, there you go.
DGWMGR has to be all caps too, Betsy.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why it wasn't working.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay, good. You're in. Okay, so we're going to the web logon is what we're going to look at, and it's under the first level menu is admin.
Right here under transcripts.
Right there, right under reporter processor, and the very first one is admin. Okay, and then we want to put in web logon. So that's the command is web logon. It's a menu item, so you can pull that down. And it's actually the last one. It's easy to remember because it's the very last one. Okay, and then in that box, would you put my G number in, that 007699991?
G00 where?
It's in the chat window, 766991. Okay, and hit launch. Okay, and in a second, it's going to be there at the top, and it won't refresh the screen automatically. You have to use the two arrows there, right? Yeah, go ahead and press that. Okay, now it's finished. So if you'll press the down key there, right there on that job. Yep. And then the eyeball there to the left. That you see that eye, and then you see the printer. So we're going to press on that eye. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to look at it. Let's look at this. So let's just use your Windows control there and move it down. Yeah. And it's going to show all of my keys. And we're looking for SD admin.
SD.
ADMIN.
It should be right here, right?
It should be. It's in alphabetical order. So you see it's not in there. So keep on going down. Let's see if now the ones that are removed are at the bottom. So they do all the pluses in alphabetical order, and then they do all the minuses. So move up just a little bit.
Yeah, it's right here.
There it is. So what do you think that means right there?
Did somebody remove you, or somebody removed that, right?
Yeah, well, what it means is in that shep config file, and remember, shep config is the winner all the time. It's the high card. If it's in shep config, you can put it 10 times and anywhere else, and it won't matter. Shep config always wins. So we've removed it. We've done there's a remove key command in shep config that we need to take out. And that's what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, so that means that the master of process for everything is
yeah. So we need to modify that file. So why don't someone else modify that file for us? Okay. Can somebody get into controller? Let's have someone else get into controller. Whoever wants to be our next guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it, or try to do it.
Okay.
I'm going to stop your sharing.
Okay. And I didn't catch you. Alejandro, is that you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to share, let's go to controller.
Okay, let me share my screen.
And I can tell you guys, you're going to have this type of request from users right here. So
Screen to.
okay, so yeah, we want to go to controller.
Okay. Is it the same password?
Yep.
Yeah, so that uses the same login, the DGW MGR and tuxedo all caps. Yep.
Okay. Good. Yep. We want to look for shep config, SHP CFG.
SHP FC.
Okay. All right. Good. And this is where you can either edit it in here or you can take it offline to an editor if you want.
Okay.
Okay. What we want to look for is, why don't you're at the bottom of the, yeah, go ahead, ask the admin. Yeah. You're at the bottom of the file right now, so.
Oh, okay.
Move up to the top.
Is the admin? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So here it is. So it's like something that I did. So we need to, which is wrong. I mean, we don't want this one removed. If you'll move up just a little bit. So we want to see who are we talking about. Somewhere at the top it'll say, if you'll move up just a little bit more. Okay, if user class equals reg, yeah. So I don't know why I did that. So let's take that out.
Yeah, so that should be, so that access should be for reg only, or
it
for
should
like,
only be for reg. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
actually, instead of saying remove key, it really should have been add key, right here.
Okay. So let me to remove this line.
Yeah.
Or can you just comment it out?
You can comment it out. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Take it out. In class. And the add key, I put it anywhere?
You can put it anywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And okay.
All right.
So copy it back.
Save. Yeah. Copy it back into your table. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Save.
Yep. Let's try just doing a web restart, DAP restart. And so, Betsy, you can do that from within Transit. You can do DAP restart, web restarts. So if you go back to that, back to your, on the left, the main tab.
You can share if you
Yes,
want.
maybe if you want to share your screen, Betsy.
Betsy, if you want to share your screen. So close this. We don't.
I'm sorry. Are you able to see my screen?
We can. You need to maybe move up a little bit higher. We want to see. We want to go back to the job submission part. So I think if you just use your on the right hand side, that navigation thing, all the way to the right, and pull it up a little bit. All the way on the right. I think we need to. Yeah, there we go. Okay, right there. Run jobs. There you go. You want to go back to run jobs. Yep. Okay. Let's go back to the admin job again. And this time we want to look for web restart. Should be kind of in the middle there. There it is. Go down right there and launch that. No, you don't need an ID or anything, just launch it. And go back to run jobs again. Let's go ahead and do a DAP restart. We don't really need to check this one. This is going to run. It's not, there's nothing really to look at.
Okay.
So go to back to run jobs, back to admin. And now look for DAP restart. Same kind of thing. There it is right there in the middle.
This one?
Yep. And then launch. And folks, I'll just say this: if you're getting calls from users that weird things are happening, I'd do that process we just did, a web restart, DAP restart. Kind of first thing, kind of like rebooting your computer. And it's not a hard restart. Users can still be on your system. You could go into prod right now and do a web restart and DAP restart. It wouldn't matter. But that's always the first line of fixing things and see if it works. So I'm gonna log off. I'm just gonna see if that did it for me. We may, we may have had to do an actual restart the system, but hopefully not. Let's see if that worked.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll do the sharing now. Thank y'all for doing that. And my password. And it still didn't change. So we'll need to, at some point in time, Jeff, maybe over lunch, just reboot the dashboard on this system. Unfortunately, that's a problem with the shep config. If you make a change in shep config, you have to stop and start dashboard. So, or the responsive dashboard part of it.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Okay, all right. And I'll go ahead and log off. And now what Jeff's doing now is destructive. It'll log everyone off. So that's something you can't really do in the middle of the live, things that running live.
And actually, let me share my screen. I can just show the rest of the guys on how this is done.
That would be good. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So I use SSH, but there's people who use PuTTY, and PuTTY I think is a lot easier to use to install because it's just something that you run, is that you don't have to install it. So if I was going to use PuTTY, I got PuTTY here somewhere. PuTTY. Yep. So PuTTY. So here, this is v5dw app, and that will use SSH. And I think that's it. Oh, yes. If you get asked for a key, just say yes. So, okay, so we're going to log in as admin. And I can pass around the credentials. And it's bang BC0 only. So this is the web app. So Ed, who's doing the upgrade, And this is one of the things I really like about Ed, is that he always creates these nice little scripts for stopping and starting stuff. So we just do the stop dashboard shell. And so it's going to kill the dashboard. And so there's one there for
killing.
What's that?
Sorry, I was like, and it even says killing.
Yep. And then then just start dashboard shell. He did it. Dashboard. Yep, it shows it to be running. So now we can try.
Looks like it's not quite up yet.
Oh, it's not up yet?
No.
Oh. So, should be up. So in that case, there's also another option here, and I just want to share that with you guys too. There's a stop all. So this will stop all the services and start all the services. So let's just do that one, because this also kills the Tomcat server. Now, just like Dennis said, this one will kick people out and make them unhappy. So, yeah, so right now it's killing the composer. It's doing the controller. And the scribe. AP services, which is what the CPOS uses. And transit. Responsive dashboard. So, I wonder if I stopped and started the right one.
I think there's another process that runs. It takes a bit for it to start all back up again.
Yeah. So now we just do it. Start all. Just do all dot shell. So this is where it's starting out the Tomcat here, which is a web server. Now starting up the gateway. So there's dashboard. Now starting transit and composer. So this is setting on a separate server from the database. Sorry, controller. Scribe. Services. This is all the logs, stuff coming up. So it should be up. So let's see. Yep.
There we go. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So I'll stop sharing, and you can.
Okay. Let's see if all what we did worked. Ah, dang it. I didn't put my password in, though. That might have helped. Make sure I'm at the right place. Testing response dashboard. Whoops, what's going on here? I don't know. I was copying it wrong or something. Okay, so see the difference now? Now I've got a theme
Oh, good.
in here. Now, before I move any further, Betsy, would you mind logging back in to controller? And I want to share your screen one more time. And I want you to redo web logon for my username, my user ID, and I want to see the difference. I want you to see the difference. I think you're on mute, Betsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to go to, what is that?
Controller.
I'm sorry?
It's a
The
controller. I'm sorry, transit. I want you to go to transit. You can use that link there in the chat or go to the link that the main Imperial link to get there.
Mm-hmm.
We were testing down. You were there at the bottom there, the testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then DegreeWorks 503 test. Then one up. Yeah. And then transit. Okay. So we're going to look at web logon again. So that was again in the admin area. And at the very bottom is web logon. Okay. My user number, whoops, you got to give it a user number. So run it again.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it doesn't remember the last thing you ran it. You have to redo it again all over again. My number is G00766 991. Okay. All righty. You can press the circle button. Okay. Let's take a look at that log file now. And look again, looking for SD admin. And they're it's not in there. And
Go to the bottom.
Yeah, go all the way to the bottom.
It's right here.
So it's still showing in there, although you're in. Although I have the key, and I seem to remember there may be a I guess
Maybe
you'd
a gap between.
yeah,
to
some kind
update
of a bug or gap or something. Sometimes with WebLog on doesn't update the value right away for some reason.
Maybe we can try it again to see if this one works. This one's supposed to be for fresh, right?
Yeah. No, I mean that would have given it to you. Yeah. Tried running it again and try using DGWMGR as the username. So go to admin. And then right there, type in all caps DGWMGR. WMGR. Okay, launch that. Let's take a look at that. This person should have the same keys as I have. Okay, I'm going to make note of that. I think that's a bug because it should have updated because I see it. You know, by me having that key, I've got it up there.
Yeah, it does feel like a bug, huh?
Yeah. Or maybe a delay, you know,
Yeah,
like
it shouldn't happen though. I seem to recall seeing something in e-communities about that, about WebLog doing that. Okay. All right. I'm going to take over sharing again, get back on track here and go ahead since I have it. Let's talk about localizations. And so with this theme editor is really where the only place you can modify the colors or the icon on top. There's 2 colors, actually 3, but this one has kind of a set group of colors here, and the colors are not the best. Let's quickly look at you guys' colors. It was what, B4546. So let's slip that in there. And then your secondary color was, let's see, let's find data. Student table data. What was that? That's just kind of a white, huh? Okay, and then also now notice the image. That it only can allow for one image, and it's got to be a URL, which is a little bit different. So if I can get one of you, you know, maybe this afternoon to find an image as a URL that we can stick in here, so we can show it right there. So when we do that, that is our look. So you can see it's not a lot of change, and unfortunately the whole upper top is going to stay white. For some, and I don't know if it's because of the responsiveness or the ADA compatibility or what. So that's that part of it. Let's go ahead and actually let's go to the search. So see, you still have all these choices you can turn off. Now, similarly, if you remember this morning, there was that CFG020 search screen that turned all these off. Now it's there's their search system variables. So let me jump into controller real quick, and we can start turning some of those off. And what I usually do is just look for the word search. And again, I've got a document on all this, so I'll get it to you. but it's basically you just go in and turn them off if you don't want to have them. I'll just do a couple of them. You don't want liberal learning, I'm sure. We'll turn that off. And then you, for here, you just have to log off, log back in, and do the process. So now you don't see liberal learning and you don't see a degree source anymore. So eventually you just want to turn all these off. That's all there is to it. No programming or anything like that. Let's put Melody's ID in here real quick.
704-680.
704-680, okay. Whoops. Okay, then to do the system variables up here, the student header, you notice it's not in any kind of matrix like what you have
Table.
in the classic dashboard, right? No table, they're just listed. Now you can turn these things again off and on, although I found that level, you can't turn level off for some reason.
Huh.
But you can turn the other ones off if you want, and then you can certainly turn these off. Let's go ahead and turn these off. Let me show you how to do that. So again, it's in the controller, and I just look for the word header. There's two items in here. Again, I've got documentation on all this. One of them is custom header. We want to make sure that's set to true, and it is. And then the other one is just really just the list of the things that you want to display here. So if we put something in, let's just say the overall GPA, and here's where we could also list all of the, if we have any band 80 variables. I know you have a band 80 variable called stu-cpos, so let's go ahead and list it, see what it looks like. We save it, go through the same thing again, log off and back on. And 680. And so now we've changed it a little bit. We still have this property not defined. So step one is to put it out there. And apparently you don't have any, you must not have any CPOS classes. And then step two is to actually give it a title. And that step two happens in Composer. So we didn't talk about message files earlier, but under language properties, there is this area called message files. And so same concept, you click on that, copy it over, and I'm going to just search for header. So I'll search for XXX. And so it's got some sample things in here. So really all you do is put dash.studentHeader.custom and then the name of the variable and then what you want the title to be. I'm going to go ahead and add this stu-cpos as well, CPOS I mean. Same concept, save it, enable it. Now then for you, Melody, all we should now see is the word overall GPA since you didn't have CPOS. All right. RGOO 7. And there you see the word overall GPA. Very simple to add items to the header within this responsive dashboard. I mean, if you wanted to add more, let's look for that one student we had yesterday that had or we found this morning that had the CPOS courses, 702, 667. Let's see what's going on here. Let's look at the student data. Maybe I misspelled it. Oh, maybe that's a different Christy Gonzalez. Maybe they didn't have. Refreshing again. Oh, okay. Something happened to there. I just refreshed their data. So here's the CPOS classes that got identified. So it's one way that I've done it with other schools to show courses. You may want to say something in here instead of that. These courses will not be paid because they're not in your degree or something like that. Now, I went in and looked at that documentation during our break a while ago, and apparently there is a flag right when we first logged in earlier when I went to that one table, that RPT 36. Apparently they've added a flag to this table to in the 504. Basically it's another flag to say show ECA blocks. Then you just set that to yes, and so then you'll see a whole separate block here for CPA courses.
Good.
So
so my plan is that once we get past the upgrade is to start looking at this one pretty hard. Yeah.
So as you can see, instead of having to go through and create those cells in XSL and go through that whole programming process, it's very easy to add items here. From the search screen, again, you just turn things off and on. Let's see what. And in terms of here, if you wanted to remove the GPAs, let's collapse everything. There is a way to be able to turn off and on these items here based on, if you don't want the major GPA to show, you can turn that off. Now, Jeff, you asked earlier when we were doing that in the classic dashboard, can you do it by student? Or if a student doesn't want to, you don't want the student to see it, but you do want the advisor to see it, you can't do that in here. It's all or nothing. And you can't delimit it by types of degrees. So like in the classic dashboard, if you wanted, say, for example, all your AAs to see the GPA, but you didn't want your ASs to see it, in here, that's not the case. Everybody in that particular degree, major, whatever that block is, it's either on or off. So
what does the planner look like in response?
Good question. The planner looks much different. Let's just create a plan for this. Looks like he has one. So here's the planner. Okay. You don't have, now I don't know if you guys have seen the planner in here, have you, now this is much different than what you guys are used to. Take it. You're used to where it was just the audit on the left-hand side and the plan kind of on the right, kind of in just a table. Looks like this is yours, Melody. It's a, I mean, two different students here, but whoops.
Oh,
Not sure what that is. That's interesting. Let's try that other student in this dashboard. Let's go back to the worksheets. And his ID was, here, I've got his ID written down here. Something's going on here. Let me take a screenshot here. And I'll get with Ed and see if we can figure out what's going on there. In this view, and this view of the plan, you've got multiple types of views. You can do an edit view or an audit view. Of course, with them not working, it doesn't matter. But okay, so this may be what the problem is right here. Let me snap this real quick. So I'm in what's called the edit view right now. And in the edit view is where you can actually go in and add requirements and that type of thing. So what did it say? The degree is not, the plan degree and school combination do not exist in the student degree list. So what if we change it to AS? Okay. And then you can, okay, y'all are having to do that plan type. And then you've got an audit view. Oh, you're still getting that error, your object description. Interesting. So there's different, and then the calendar view is more like just every term. The audit view is, so here's the count, so the calendar view is working. So that's what the calendar view looks like. The audit view is like the audit view is similar to your current planner. It's the audit on one side and the plan next door to it. Huh, and then it worked. Okay. So this probably looks very similar to your current planner because you've got the audit on one side. Now with the audit view, you can do a little bit of editing. You can't type in any requirements here, but you can drag a requirement from over here over here. You're supposed to be able to. And this is an older term. We may have it set to where you can't edit an older term. Yeah. Let's see how I drag that there. And now that will be checked off over here on this side. Should be checked off. You can also move them around within here. Like if I wanted to pull that up, it should be able to pull them around. I'm not sure what all your settings are set up as. It looks like we need to do some setting setups, but anyway, that's kind of what it looks like. There's multiple views. There's an audit view, calendar view, edit view, and notes view. Most people don't really use the notes view, but the edit view is what.
In the current responsive, are there any bugs that you know of that kind of?
With 503, they've fixed most of the bugs in the responsive dashboard. There was a few different random ones with maybe a choice requirement, like a @ sign with certain attributes, wasn't matching it. In the one bug that I've seen, let's just jump over there real quick. So one way to enter, so you can enter requirements by, there's a still needed area, kind of like that on that list of things on the right. And a bug that it looks like it's not happening for you guys is if it's a blank plan, the still needed is blank. But as soon as you add a course to it, it was fixing it. The still needed would populate. So it doesn't. We've got it. Oh, we're modified. Oh, we're using it on the other one, but. Most of the work that you're seeing, most of the bug fixes are in here. They've done very little to the responsive dashboard. I mean, to the classic dashboard.
Okay. Yeah, because I did contemplate whether moving to the responsive as part of this upgrade. I just thought it was too much.
Yeah, it's a big chunk. A lot of schools are doing what you're doing is they're bringing the classic up and then integrating the responsive in. In fact, this school this morning, we're talking about letting the students use the responsive dashboard since they're probably going to be using it on their iPhone anyways. So for you guys, actually, besides the CPOS issue, you don't have very few localizations, so I would say you probably ought to try to move to the responsive dashboard.
Hey, as long as the 5.0.4 has the modification we talked about, then I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah.
Seems a lot easier to maintain.
Yeah. You know, it'll be a change for your counselors. You know, they're going to look at this and say, oh, wow, this is different. Some will love it. John Crispino, a friend of mine who's on our team, loves it. I mean, he doesn't want to see the classic dashboard anymore. Dave Neal and myself, we're kind of like, we're old school. We kind of like the old one better. But
well, it's hard when you had that much control. Like you could literally do any modification or a lot of modifications, whereas in this one you're very limited, and so that is frustrating. But
yeah,
like you said, we weren't taking advantage of that anyway. Right.
Y'all have done very, very little. So. I guess maybe you may want to run it by your users, see what they think. I mean,
but I don't know.
Or not, you know, Jeff, you're kind of in control.
Well, we just know how that goes. We ran the new planner past our users, and we went through a whole rigmarole, and then we ended up not doing it, and here we are 5 years later. So
yeah, well,
we have there's so many of them.
That was a bad idea.
So. Yeah, they definitely split. Half are ready to see a change, and the other half is like, don't move my cheese ever. So
yeah,
and maybe with the 50.
Go ahead.
And maybe with the 504 having the CPOS pieces in it, that will facilitate, I think, a better move.
Justification,
yeah, could be.
But I do like this view of it. So,
let's see. Can you guys see this? This is the section in that the release guide that speaks to it. So it looks like it's just a flag in RPT 36 to show the separate ECA fall through sections.
So for this, it's not specific to CPOS because I guess all schools across the country are seeing the same feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not a California thing.
No, and CPOS isn't a California thing. CPOS is national. I mean, it's
federal.
It's just a.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's everywhere.
Okay. Yep.
Now
It's still nice to tell them, even if they're not on aid, whether or not a course they're taking is pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And when we first started talking about this yesterday, I wasn't sure what you guys had. Some schools, let me pull that guy back up. I know we've done for a couple of schools really more elaborate localization to where they call it the red box. Now, your guys are all red, but I know 3 or 4 schools that both Dave and I have worked on, we put a red box right here if they have any bad courses, you know, and and we've got to where we call it the red box. You know, this school wants a red box, so we localize that red box in there. But the problem with that is you can't replicate that in the responsive dashboard. I mean, you can put it in the header like I showed you, but you can't change the color of the header. I mean, you can put it there, but that doesn't stand out. Like I'm sure those schools will not go.
Well, you know, so it's in production. It's just not you're still in test. So I have that same student pulled up in production and we have a message at the top.
You do have a message at the top.
I wouldn't call it red, but it's that same.
Do you want to, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, let's see what you're talking about.
There you go. So, I mean, see how it's that same
orange
color?
Right. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the red box. Yeah. Okay, so that you can't do that.
Right. We can only just do this down here where it's elective classes allowed versus not allowed.
Yeah. So we may, and what you may want to do is change the wording on that elective classes allowed and say what you set up at the top. You know, this class is not going to be paid for. You know, move that message right there. Federal financial aid will not pay for this. So.
Okay. Got it.
But, you know, or you can say that right here. I mean, you can actually change this wording to say federal financial aid will not pay for this course. It's just not going to be red and standing out.
You said this, but you're not sharing your screen anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we don't know what you're talking about.
You can't read my mind? Come on
now.
So like this right here.
Oh, okay.
You could say that.
I'm not super happy about the header. I will say that I don't like. I mean, can we at least change the color of the bold letters so that you can?
No, unfortunately,
see. It's kind of sloppy. I don't know. It's just all it's all just jumbled.
I've heard people say washed out. You know, it kind of looks washed out. But,
yeah, but okay.
Yep, that too. Yep.
Yeah.
No. I honestly don't care much for the plans. I like the other plan that's not working necessarily real well for you guys. I like it a lot better than this. Now, again, John and I differ on this. He likes this a lot better, but I like the other planner. Okay, real quickly before we go to lunch, I wanted to, and you may have already figured it out, in terms of moving to prod, your localizations, and let's just talk about the classic localizations now, are pretty easy to now replicate this in prod. All you do is copy this localized resource area, and a good way to do it is take it down to your PC or to your network, and then load it into prod. You'll have a composer in prod, same kind of thing. Load it, enable it, and there you have it. So going to prod is going to be pretty straightforward. So Jeff, that weekend, whoever does this day, that's what we'll do. We'll go through each of those files, and you've seen we've only got 3 or 4 is all it's going to be.
Right. Okay.
We'll
good.
go through this process, so it'll be pretty straightforward. Now, if there were any, like on that search screen, that's when we'll have to make sure in controller that we're doing it exactly like in controller, like we've done in prod and dev. There's no good way to copy this to prod.
Right.
And I wish there was. I mean, it would sure make it a lot easier, but we'll have to go through here one by one. And that's probably what's going to, if there's any kind of hold up or snag, it's going to be, we missed something in here.
Yep. Yeah. So in our current, the DW shell is running for 503.
Yeah.
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 But come December, that may go away.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
But you stop upgrading your browser.
That right. Yeah. That's what we recommended to a school this morning, and they didn't like that because our DBAs are full. They don't have time to do anybody else. So, but they didn't really go too well. But yeah, you can keep running DW Shell, and DW Shell is actually just like between the 2 dashboards. It's looking at the same tables as what we're looking at here in controller, exact same table. So you could get to RPT 36. Web 31 in DW Shell, just like I'm doing it in controller, and we'll be looking at the same data. So,
okay. Good.
Okay, let's break for lunch. It's 11:30, so say 12:30. Come back. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yep.
And this afternoon, what we're going to talk about is reporting.
Okay.
And so hang in there, and some gets a little complicated, but we'll work through it. So, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Dennis.
Okay. I'm going to stop the everything, and then we'll start back up with a new Zoom this afternoon. So,
Okay. Thank you.
okay. Have a good lunch. We'll see you.
You too. Bye-bye.